We have not seen failure to deliver numbers like what we are seeing right now with AMC stock since June of 2021. So why is this such a big deal, and why does this need to be addressed and talked about here on this channel? What could this mean for AMC stock heading into the future? I think there is some clear answers here, and that's what we're going to get into for the most part here in this video. We're going to touch on some other key things as well, so stay tuned and let's make that money. First thing and the only thing I will ever ask you guys to do is free 99, and that is to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys for tuning in, and let's get straight into it. By the way, happy 4th of July. I hope you guys are taking time to enjoy this day and this weekend with families, but if you can get in there, a quick video, get your financial education on, that is always a good thing as well, and I think your family will appreciate that. Give it a couple years down the line. But with that quick word being said, let's get straight to it. So it's been a while since we have talked about failure to delivers, and I don't think people talk about this enough in the AMC community as of right now, specifically over the last couple of weeks, as the failure to delivers are now in the 2 to 4 million share range. So what is a failure to deliver? Well, a failure to deliver FTD refers to a situation where one party in a trading contract, whether it's shares, futures, options, or forward contracts, doesn't deliver on their obligation. Such failures occur when a buyer, quote, the party with a long position, doesn't have enough money to take delivery and pay for the transaction as settlement. A failure can also occur when the seller, the party with a short position, does not own all or any of the underlying asset required at settlement and so cannot make the delivery. The key takeaways: failure to deliver FTDs refers to not being able to meet one's trading obligations. In the case of buyers, it means not having the cash. In the case of sellers, it means not having the goods. The reckoning of these obligations occurs at trade settlement. Failure to deliver can occur in derivative contracts or when selling short naked, and I think you have a combination of those things that are likely happening right now, and that's what helped to attribute to the rallies that we've seen in January and June of 2021, and I think there's a little bit of that going on again. But now, how long do FTDs actually have to be settled? Because a failure to deliver, it's not going to be on the buyer side. Let's just, like, that is very rare, right? When a somebody is essentially buying, they have that money set aside already. That's like if you sell a put, right? You have to put up that collateral to be able to buy those shares if you get exercised, right? So it usually doesn't happen on the buyer side. It usually happens on the seller side. Now, what could that be? Well, that could be obviously naked shorts. That could be somebody sold an option and now they have to go out and buy the stock because they never owned it. Maybe it's hard to acquire these shares, or for multiple other reasons. But the long story short with FTDs, it is shares that need to be rebought that are not currently bought. So the best way I like to look at it is what we can prove with these millions of shares is that they are millions of shares that will need to be bought back here in the near term future. Now, stocks bought and sold in transactions must be settled within 2 days. The buyer must deliver the cash and the seller the stock. If either party fails, a failure to deliver takes place. Like I just said, that's the 2 days from essentially when you're supposed to deliver them and when the transaction actually settles. T+2 settlement time. But the T+35 rule, it's been a while since we talked about that here on this channel. That is with respect to delivery against payment transactions. The broker-dealer has up to 35 calendar days, T+35, to obtain payment. Quote, if the security is delayed due to mechanics of the transaction and not related to the consumer's willingness to pay. So it's not to say that, hey, there's an insolvent hedge fund and they're just not able to pay, so there's going to be a bunch of FTDs, which I'm sure that can be the case, and it wouldn't surprise me if that is the case, given what has happened in the markets. But typically it's not supposed to be a problem of unwillingness to pay. But then again, that's probably what contributed to January and June's rally. People just didn't want to buy those shares back after the essentially the stock went to the moon, right? People don't want to close out their naked short positions or short positions in general when a stock does fly to the moon. And if we look at the failure to deliver numbers that we have been seeing on a consecutive basis over the last couple of weeks now, you can see On May 16th, we had 1.2 million failure to delivers. The next week after, you had almost 3 million, specifically 2.98 million failure to delivers. And then we did peak out at 4.67 million, went down to 3.81 million, and we're still sitting at 2.41 million failure to delivers. And what is happening as far as the price action, you're not really, in my opinion, seeing a lot of those FTDs being covered. Yes, AMC does have a slight uptrend like we talked about in the last video, which we will look at again here in this video, but I don't actually think these FTDs have been closed out yet. And let me explain myself, because you can see what happened back here in April, May, and then eventually when we rallied in June. The FTDs went from May 3rd at 11.73 million down to 2.2 million by May 17th, but during that time you hadn't seen a major rally yet. You actually seen the FTDs fall before that major rally ever started. So I think it's just how the information is relayed to us. There's actually a pretty decent delay between when these FTDs actually go on Ortex, or when they actually get reported, and the point where they actually get bought back, because it was indeed about 35 days from the spike of these failure to delivers in June until you ultimately did see the high in FTDs at 19.7 million June 21st, after AMC stock had already rallied for the most part. So I do think it's a little bit of backward information, let's just call it that. So I do think you will likely start to see some FTDs possibly being covered in this next upcoming week. And then if you want to boil it down in simplest terms, if 5 million shares at the peak would have had to have been bought by now, well, you really haven't seen AMC stock go through any kind of rally during that time period. Not even right now you're seeing AMC rallying. We were actually slightly negative on the day for Friday. And then if you mix in here even what Ortex is giving us as far as the estimated short interest of free float, which is now 18.8%, down from 22.51% over the past 7 days, I think we're just getting a little bit of bad info, and the way that it gets reported to us is obviously not the best. So short interest is not going down in a big way, and FTDs, there are millions of shares. It's hard to know on a day-to-day basis how many FTDs there are. The peak we knew of about almost 5 million, and where we're currently sitting at right now as far as June 13th, which was still a while ago, guys, failure to delivers, we're at 2.41 million, and we have not seen a rally at all. So I do think the short interest is still well over 20%, and I do think these FTDs will have to be covered here in the short-term future. So that's the best way to look at it, is it's a guaranteed amount of shares that will have to be covered here in the near-term future. And why this is actually happening is likely due to all of the option activity. It could be due to some naked shorting, but I'm not going to go out and make that claim without having stronger evidence, but it is a possibility. And why I really wanted to point this out is because we have not been over 1 million FTDs since June of 2021, since this day right here, March 21st, 2022. And if we go ahead and look back at the chart for March 21st, we could see March 21st was right here, right when AMC stock was trading at about $15 per share. Well, what happened after that? Well, you've seen the stock run up to $34. So that would probably, to me, indicate a pretty substantial rally is coming. Even when you look at AMC on a technical basis, we're holding support above the 50-day moving average, something we have not done since back here in April. It was April 11th, the last time we were above the 50-day moving average, and we found resistance at that level quite a few times in the past. Finally broke out above it. We did struggle along this descending level of resistance. Call it 3, 4, 5 days now we've struggled to break out and close above that, but we've also held support at the 50-day moving average. So I do think we will get that move to the upside, and possibly more than likely come up and test this 100-day moving average at almost $16 per share. And then where we go from there is anyone's guess, but we will be seeing millions of shares that have to be bought over the next coming days, likely next coming weeks, when it has to do with AMC stock. So I do think that is what we're looking forward to. And you guys can just see it was really only one spike back in March that we seen where FTDs went really high, and then subsequently the next couple of days after that you really started to rally. Now we're seeing a very consistent spike in FTDs, and I think overall it is something to be bullish on, because even in the past, over the last year, you've like never been over 1 million FTDs, not even for, you know, 1 month period. It's very rare to get over 1 million, especially in 2022, at least for the better part of 2022 so far, and even for 2021, usually sitting in the couple 100,000 share range. So I do think it will have a big impact on potentially AMC stock, and I think it is really coming to us at a very good time for AMC in general. As you guys can see from the option activity, July 15th is going to be a very important expiration. We're going to be talking about the possibility of a gamma squeeze, and I think that is another video you guys definitely want to pay attention to. But you're already looking at 30,000 calls that are currently in the money, 458,000 calls that are out of the money for July 15th. And then even for this upcoming week, 53,000 calls that are out of the money, and about 8,500 calls that are currently in the money. So anytime from now until July 15th, it's very likely, in my personal opinion, that you will see a move to the upside. You add in this FTD situation on top of that, and I think it looks really good. Also, the option activity has been spiking and turning incredibly bullish over the last week. Wednesday, you've seen 6 orders totaling 819.41 thousand, positive order value of 91%. On Friday, you actually did see 5 orders totaling 437.73 thousand, positive order value of 75%, and that's pretty rare to see heading into a weekend. You know, statistically speaking, if 4th of July falls on a Monday, that next following Tuesday is usually a positive day about 72% of the time. So that might be what it is. Probably going to see a positive day on Tuesday, but again, I'm not a fortune teller. I don't know, but you're definitely seeing some encouraging signs from the data that we are talking about here in this video. So there is that. I do also want to point out that there is a lot of demand for the underlying business of really travel and leisure in general, but I think specifically for AMC stock, as we do have a lot of great movies that are coming out, I think that will benefit the fundamentals of AMC, and I don't think it will be a huge negative factor for the stock given where the valuation is. You're only at about a 1 price to sales ratio, which is not bad at all considering what AMC is actually doing with the business. So that is pretty much going to be all for this video. That's really what you guys need to know. If you guys have not seen the last video that I just put out about essentially what we have in store for this next upcoming week with the FOMC minutes, with all of the data, I think that is something that is very important that you guys do watch. So make sure to go ahead and do that when you guys are done with this one. That will be very beneficial to you. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, all of that good stuff. Get your free stock down below in the description with Webull, Moomoo, and Public. But most importantly, enjoy your guys' weekends, and I'll see you in the next one.